Hi, this is Sikandar Rafiq and you are watching DevCore Learn Software Development YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss the file system versus DBMS. What are the problems in the file system and why to solve these problems DBMS is invented. You know the famous quote, necessity is the mother of invention. So according to the same quote, DBMS is invented to solve all these problems we are facing in the DevCore file system. So let's deep dive into the course. File system versus DBMS. Okay, what is the file system? So before database exists, application uses the normal operating system files to store all the data. So this is the components of the file system. So there is the master file directory, components of files, and all these in this directory we are having the multiple other directories, and then it is going to the referencing the different files. So the components of the file systems are files, directories, path, and the metadata. So for example, if there is some directory, for example, directory exists the user's name and it has some data. For example, we are going to implement the school system as a very simple system in the file system. So there is the students, and then this is the folder or directory, and in this we are having the different files. For example, students.txt, and the others are the marks.txt, and the few more files, for example, fee status.txt. So in this way we can manage in the file system, or you can say the school system. So directories containing the different files, or directory may contain another directory and it contains the files. So path means complete path. For example, C:\C or D, and the school / we are having the students.txt. So it can be more longer as well. Directory, school directory, and then it contain any other directory and then some file. So these are the path. So metadata is the if we are referring to the some files, so it has some creation date. For example, if we need the one file example, for example, students.txt, so it can has creation date. So these are the file metadata, and then we have the permission, which user has right to access these files, and then we have the some other attributes. So all these attributes are called metadata, right? So this is linked to the each file. So all these consist of the components of the file system. Here you can see data storage. So we are storing the data in the different files. So we are having the students file which contains the students data. So we can save the data in different format, txt format and comma separated file which is called the CSV file, and then the JSON format. So JSON is just like this. So JSON format is, for example, it has the array has some student ID, and then this is 101 comma name, and this is Ali comma course subject, or department you can say, and then this is the one record, and it can has many records, and then this is the array, so it can contain the number of records. So this is the JSON file. So JSON file we can use in the file system, and then the binary file, dat file. So binary file is the not human readable, so it is the in form of 01 form, right? So as I mentioned before, so if we want to implement the school very simple system in the file system, so we can create the different files, school.txt, departments.txt, which contain the department name, and then courses 01 to database, and 02 to 102 to OS, and 103 to network, and then the marks for each student. So these are the simple file system examples. How data storage? So application, maybe it's a web application or the data desktop application, then it is using the operating system. Then it is using the file system and creating the file in the desktop workstation, and then using the disk, block or sectors. So these are the data storage format. So in this way, in the file system we are saving the data in the files. Okay, so application handle all these data, right? So these are the some problems. So it is very difficult to manage. Application read and write the data from the all these files and manage the data, ensure security, so anyone can change the data by opening the file, handle relationship. So you know there is no relationship, so application has to deal all these relationships because there is no relationship in the file system, and the backup and recovery. So all these has to be done by the application. So these are the problems. Searching data is very difficult in the file system. So application has to scan whole the data and then save the data in the memory, temporary data structures, and then fetch or the data, required data. So there is no security as discussed. Consistency, so there is no consistency. If you application or anyone can change the one file and forgot to change the other file, so there is the huge system problem. For example, if one student has to change from the 101, Ali has to change his department from CS to IT department, so many files need to be changed. For example, data file, students file needs to be changed, .txt files, and then maybe some other files also, subjects files, .txt. So it is very cumbersome to update the data and maintain the consistency. As I discussed, there is no relationship in these files. So getting or fetching the data from the different files is very difficult. Okay. So its analogy is very simple. You can imagine the random office. So there is a folders, you can maintain the Excel sheet or text files, and in these files there is a folders, there is a files, you can maintain the data. Maybe it's a school system or e-commerce application or banking application. So it's all these you can imagine. So it is very difficult and hard to maintain all these systems using the file system. So as discussed before, there are a lot of problems in the file system. So data redundancy. So for example, lot of data redundancy means the data is repeated again and again. For example, students.txt file, so we can have the same just like data, it's the roll number or ID, and name is the Ali, and in the marks file, marks.txt file, we again have to specify the name because the relationship is very difficult. So we will marks is 85, and for some other students we have to write here, and if there is some other fees.txt file, and Ali and fees is paid. So here you can see that this is the data is again repeating without any reason. So this is the data redundancy. So if we don't add this name, so we don't know where one is belong to, because there is no relationship between the students.txt file and other files, fee.txt and marks.txt files. So that is why we have to repeat all the data. So these are the data redundancies. Inconsistency. So if some file is changed and forgot to change the other files, so data is inconsistent, difficult to search. So we as mentioned before, application has to scan all the files from top to bottom, and it's very difficult to fetch required data. No relationship, poor concurrency. So if one user can use the application, for example, if one user is opening these files, so no one can open these files. So operating system lock these files, so only one user will access it. So there is also problem of the override data. If someone update this file and user 2 also updated the students.txt, so there is a data overwritten problem may exist. Okay, no transactions. For example, in the banking application, as you know, we are having the transaction. We have discussed the transaction in the previous video, so I will little bit discuss here. We have the two tasks. Task 1 is, for example, we are transferring the data from $200 to account 1 to account 2. Account 2, as we have discussed before, and $100, so it is debited and it is now $800. And before the task 2, transfer the data to the, for example, a second account has the $500, and before adding in this account, application has some problem. So this is the inconsistent data, right? So no transactions. If application crash here, over here, app crash, so then in this account data is debited but not credited in the second account. So this is the huge problem. No access control, so anyone can access these files and update the data. So no backup and recovery. So you have to, application has to maintain the backup and recovery itself. So this is also a very serious problem. If the contrast, we go to the DBMS. So DBMS manages everything itself. So data is stored in a database. So we can say there is a problem. So all the problems in the file system, DBMS will cover all these problems. So data is stored in the data tables, student tables and departments and the courses. So here you can see, and there is no redundancy. Student table has the 01 to Ali, and here you can see in the department table we are only referring to the department ID. We are not using the name again, Ali name again. So in this table, courses table, course 1 is 01 is database, and so there is no repetition of the data again and again. So it has the lot of advantage. We will discuss one by one. Data sharing, because in the DBMS system, so all the data is to a centralized place. For example, this is the central server. So we will maintain the database in the central server, right? So database is here. And any application or the user application will use the same data. So user 1 using the same data, and the same way user N is using the same data. So application sharing, data sharing is very easy in this way. Data concurrency, DBMS maintain the data concurrency. So here you can see if application user 1 is using the same application and user 2 is using the same application, or maybe large number of users are using the same application, so each transaction is isolated, right? So its data is not overwritten. So that is why it will lock the database tables and modify the transactions. So whenever other user 2 or user 3 is using the database, so it is same lock the respective table and there is no data overwritten. So data consistency is maintained by the DBMS system. Searching or indexing is very easy. Okay, searching the data, so it will use the SQL structured query language, right? So structured query language example has the, for example, select static from students, so here this is the student table name, right? So it will fetch all the data from the students table. So in this way it is very simple form, SQL form. We can use very complex by using the different other clauses, where clauses and the union and the order by and etc. So we will discuss all these in the next videos. Okay, there is also one concept which is called the indexing. So indexing is a very important concept. For example, if we are searching the data by using the phone number, for example, we have the some table, students table, for example, ID and then name and then phone number, and we want to data is searched by using this. So we will create index on phone number, on this specific field, phone number. So in this way data searching is very fast by using the phone number, this table, this field. So it is very important concept in the database. In this way we will make our database efficient and fetch the data in a very short milliseconds. Reduced redundancy. So here you can see in the previous video already we have mentioned the name or other details in the same one table, students table. In the other table we are also using these, only using the ID. Here is ID is 1. ID 1 means the student 1 Ali is from the computer science department and Sara is from the information technology department, right? So we are not repeating the data here either, because we know the 2 means 2 is the ID, department ID, but here we are using the 2, right? It is giving our information that Sara or the student belongs to what department. So in this way we will manage by using the relationships, we will reduce the data redundancies. Okay, data integrity. In the previous video we have thoroughly discussed the data integrity, entity integrity, referential integrity, and domain and user defined. So DBMS maintained the data integrity. Access control, DBMS maintained the access control by using the authorization and authentication we have discussed in the previous video. Backup. So DBMS itself maintained the backup after the certain interval. You can manage yourself. Maybe it is backup once in a day or every hour, so it depends upon your configuration. So if the system is failure, we can recover from the backups. So it is very huge advantage by using the DBMS. Data concurrency is mentioned before. So data concurrency is also maintained by the DBMS. Number of users can use the database, access the database concurrently, but data is not overwritten. So it is in the valid state. Data security is maintained by the DBMS, and multi-user support. We can support the large number of hundreds of thousands or maybe millions and billions of the users by using the DBMS. Transaction management. So I have already given you the examples. So DBMS maintain the transaction management very efficiently by using the asset properties. We will discuss in the next slide. So DBMS management is very easy. So in this way you can see, by using the database and DBMS system, DBMS is the software through which we can access the database. So we have overcome almost all the problems which we are facing by using the file system. Asset transactions and concurrency control. So by using the asset properties, so DBMS maintain the transactions management and operational integrity. What is the atomicity? So in the previous video, here you can see transactions. So you can see if two tasks, task 1 and task 2, this transaction is managed, comprises of the two tasks. So if the whole task is, both tasks are done, task may be more than one also, so then this transaction is committed. If task 1 is done and task 2 is not done due to the application crash, so the transaction is rolled back and it is in the valid state. So valid state is account 1, it is in the previous balance, which is the 1000, and account 2 is also in the previous balance, which is the 500, before going to start the transactions. So its data balance deduction will be reverted back. So this is the transaction management. So when both transaction tasks are done, so then it is the committed to the application, to the database. This is called the atomicity. So this transaction is called atomic transaction, right? So if the whole transaction is succeeded, then it is committed, otherwise it is rolled back. This is the atomicity. Consistency we have already discussed. So during the transaction, database change from the one valid state to the another. Isolation, if the large number of users is using the database, so each transaction is executed isolated. No data is overwritten by one user to another user. So it is also maintained by the DBMS. Durability. So if one transaction is committed and maybe it is the database failure or DBMS failure, so it is logged as the event. So it is not destroyed. So it is all maintained by the DBMS. So this is called the durability. Key differences between the file system and the DBMS system. File system is unstructured, you have seen. So DBMS is very structured based on the tables and relationships. Data redundancy, File system has the redundant data, and there is no redundancy in the DBMS. Data redundancy is very deep concept. It can exist in the DBMS system and the database as well, if database is not properly normalized. So we will discuss the normalization in the next videos. So this is very important concept, and in my 25 years of career, I have seen the data redundancy in the even multinational companies database. So normalization is very important. If data is not properly normalized, it has even DBMS has the data redundancies. Okay, the backup and recovery file system has no built-in mechanism, and DBMS has the built-in mechanism. Query processing. So as I mentioned, DBMS use the SQL query, efficiently processing and fetching the data, but file system has no query processing. Consistency, file system has very low consistency, and the DBMS has very more consistency due to the normalization. File system is less complex, but the DBMS is more complex. You need to learn all the concepts of the DBMS to efficiently handle the database. Security constraints. File system provide the less security, and DBMS provide more security using the authentication and authorization. Cost. File system is less expensive as compared to DBMS is higher cost, and it is the expensive. Data independence. File system has no data independence, while the DBMS has data independence. So we will discuss data independence in the next videos, maybe the next one or the next one or two videos. User access. File system has very limited access, and DBMS has multiple user can access at a time. It may be hundred of thousands users or maybe more. Data sharing is very restricted in the file system. Only one user can update the data. If more than one user can update the data, it is the overwritten problem may exist. But due to the centralized nature of the DBMS, data sharing is very easy. Data abstraction. In the file system there is no data abstraction, and in the DBMS it has a huge data abstractions. So I will give you the brief concept of the data abstractions, but in the next video we will discuss this concept in the very detail. So data abstractions means hiding the unnecessary information, and only showing the required information. Required info, right? For example, you can imagine the car. You will drive the car. So in the car system, you will use the brake and steering and accelerator. So all these things you are using, but there are the unnecessary information. You even don't know to bother about it. For example, the engine, how engine is working. Although it is very complex, but the driver don't know how engine is working, and the other suspension details, car suspensions, and how other car systems are working. So you don't know all these informations. this is unnecessary for the driver, right? For the driver, required information is he has to know how steering will work, how brake will work, so all this information. So car system only provide the show the necessary required information and hide unnecessary information, right? So in the same way DBMS is work. It shows the necessary information, required information, how you will fetch the data, how you need to index the data, but it will hide the unnecessary details, right? So this is called data abstraction. We will discuss in more detail in the next videos. What is the data abstraction in the DBMS? Integrity constraints. So file system has no integrity constraint. In the other DBMS has more integrity constraint and very easy to implement. So all integrity constraints we have discussed in the first video. Concurrency control we have already discussed. File system has very limited concurrency, and the DBMS has ensured the data consistency, right? So in this video we have discussed the file system and file system problems and why we have DBMS system is invented to solve all these problems. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe so that other students can also benefit this video. So until next time, bye bye.